Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today's video is going to be an update on my personal cars. It's crazy how fast time flies, and I think the last time I uploaded a video on one of my cars was probably when we were prepping the Cup for sale. At the time I think I featured a couple of clips of the Megane as well, but both of them are now gone. So that wasn't originally the plan, but at the time the Cup went pretty quickly, and the Megane, being a low mileage clean example, that went pretty quickly too. It turns out my friend was selling his Storm Grey Clio 200 that we see behind me, and my ownership of the Cup had come to an end. It's nearly a decade of Cup ownership, 3 of them over that period, and I guess it just kind of run its course, if you like. And the Megane didn't really have a place in my plans for the future. The Megane's value was tied up in the fact that it was low mileage, it was a mint example, and it made me not want to drive it, to be honest, or enjoy the car. I'd rather have something that is high mileage like this, that I can modify and strip without feeling too guilty. So yeah, this video is going to be a bit impromptu. I'm just going to walk you around the car, take you over the spec, some of the things I've already done to it because I've already done loads, and yeah, talk about what we're going to do next. So here it is. Excuse the mess and stuff around here. You've got the headlining, the seats, all those bits. The interior, well, it was OEM, literally completely OEM, until I got my hands on it and decided to strip half the stuff out of it. But what we've got here is a Clio 200 in Storm Grey. It's one of the later Clio 200s, so it's got the slightly different top mounts on it, and a couple of other different bits. But overall, anyone that knows these cars knows that they're brilliant for track days. You see loads of them out on track, and there is a reason for that, and that's because they do make some of the best budget track car builds around, and especially with handling, thanks to the fancier sort of suspension setup compared to the Mark II Clios. They do handle way better. That's been tried and tested and proven quite a few times by other smaller sort of YouTube channels as well, or standard for standard if you like. But in the corners, these things carry way more speed, and that's kind of why I did what I did, because I know that eventually, you know, I want to be faster on track, and this is the perfect platform to do that with. This car's done 111,000 miles, and when I picked it up, the belts were due, so I took it to Alex, who did the belts, corrected the timing, and then went around the car and told me a few other things that I need to address, which I'll show you in a minute. But other than that, it's a really, really nice example. It's not cosmetically perfect, but that is not what I wanted from a car. The Megane was really, really mint, and that made me not want to drive it, whereas this is not perfect. It's got a few scratches and dings in it and whatnot, and I dare say we'll pick more of them up over the course of taking the car on track. The first track day that I've got is actually in May this year, 17th, so literally about 2 weeks away. And that'll be the first time that I get this car on track, and probably only the 3rd or 4th time I've driven it. I've barely driven the car since I got it. I've done one trip to Alex, which was about 2 hours away from here, and I've been out in the car once for about half an hour, and that is it. First impressions are, it's pretty much like my Cup and the Megane moulded into one, but without the boost. It handles and feels like the Mark II Megane, although it feels a lot lighter and a lot more nimble, and the power delivery is, you know, it's all up top. This is naturally aspirated, standard power, probably at 185 horsepower to 190 peak, I think. I don't know what these make standard, but I'm not really asked about that at the minute, because long term, that engine isn't going to be the one that's in this car. I'm going to swap it to something else, which I'll cover in a later video, and it's not a Miglio that I'm going for. I'll leave it at that for now. It's got ADO RS tyres, Goodrich hook discs, PBS pads, so we should be good on track, although the tyres might fade after a few laps because they're quite soft. I think the NS2Rs are a bit more, you know, they're a bit firmer. But yeah, it's a fantastic looking car. You know, you've got the spoiler on the back, this massive diffuser at the rear, Sportex exhaust system, which sounds really good. But yeah, to extract any power from this, you have to wring its neck, which is a good thing, I think, because on track, that's exactly where we're going to be, where all the power is, so it doesn't really matter. But as a daily driver, you probably want something with a bit more torque. So this is inside. These are brand new. Corbo Pro Sports. They replaced the Club Sports now, which they no longer do, which I know like are a budget track day essential for most track builds, but these are the Pro Sports, so they're a lot better build quality, I reckon, and I got them new from Corbo, as well as with these Luke harnesses, which are really lovely, and they hopefully complement the car, which is all stripped inside. So this is, you know, it kind of matches the car because it's grey out on the outside, but actually it would look like this if you had a white or a racing blue one as well. So I'm quite fortunate in the sense that the outside is grey, so this matches, but eventually I'm going to paint this probably white, maybe grey. It would be nice to have some contrast between the interior and the exterior, and white will look really smart. I'm going to leave the dash in because there's no real need to start stripping that out. It's got aircon and a few other creature comforts as well, so it will be better and pretty good on long journeys such as the ring and whatnot. Standard shifter, and we've got the aftermarket steering wheel to go on, along with a Cup Racer inspired Volanatech harness. I'm just waiting on a Boss that fits that to turn up, and removing this airbag was an absolute pig of a job to do. You can see how many times I've scratched it up here, but we got it off in the end. So yeah, the OEM wheel's down there. There's a Boss there that I had lying around that I thought was for this car, but it definitely isn't. And yeah, the glove box will go back in eventually once we're done tidying the loom, but you can see what a good job Josh has done of tidying this so far. There's still more to do. And this is the cage. I got this from a guy locally to me for a good price. It's an SW Motorsport bolt-in half cage. Fits lovely actually. It was really hard to get out of his car because he still had all the interior and headlining in, but very easy to get into mine, as you can probably see why. At the time I didn't even have this passenger seat in, so it made it even easier. Trapdoor cards will come eventually. I've got some rears on the way actually for that side and down here, but they're all cosmetic things for now. My primary focus moving forward will be to fit these. So I picked these up purely because I was going to go for BC Racing. However, they don't necessarily do them in the triangular later 200 fitment, whereas Yellow Speed do. I know a lot of the Civic Cup cars run these, and actually, in all fairness, although I hadn't done a lot of research into them, a lot of the guys that have tracked Clio 200s also run these as well, so I'm excited to see what they're like. I've never actually owned a pair of or a set of coilovers for a track car before. It's the first time I've gone all out and brought some, and yeah, I'm excited to get them on. These are the track day rated springs as well, so I think they're 8 and 10 kilos from memory. And we've got the adjusters just here, a couple of Yellow Speed stickers. I'm sure we can find a cool little place for them, but yeah, that's kind of it at the moment. We've also replaced these, so they're not OEM, they're different. They're still they didn't come with a car, but they're still Renault standard lights. They're just a slightly different design which looks a bit smarter. Put that down like that, you can see it looks really nice. And then we have just a driver's side, which you've kind of already seen, but at the bottom here I've picked up a SW Motorsport second-hand footplate, and the reason is, if you strip these completely and remove the sound deadening, you have to balance your heel on this to brake and accelerate, which I think is a bit dodgy because you can easily get it wrong and slip off. So you can go to brake and then your foot or heel ends up this side of it and you'll miss. It's not really what you want to do when you're trying to push the car and yourself to drive as best as you can. So yeah, I picked that up. It's only 60 quid. And yeah, you can see we've got a bolt in the cage, which will be a weekend job at some point. So completely standard. It's got an uprated bush here to stop some movement, and the dog bone on this is also knackered, so I'm going to replace that. I've got an uprated Powerflex dog bone to go on, standard battery, which again eventually we will relocate, and the engine, which, you know, it's done 111,000 miles, revs out quite nicely. There's not a lot more you can say about it, to be honest. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but there's plenty of cars slower out there. and eventually that will be removed anyway, and we're going to go for something a little more revvy, shall we say. And that doesn't by any means make this project any different to what other people have already done, very nicely may I add, but I really want to document every step of this. So yeah, we'll crack on very soon with it. So I hope you've enjoyed that little update on my car and what we're doing. I guess I haven't really explained what the plan is for the car. It is just to make it a really fast track car, essentially. I want to get better at driving, and this will hopefully be the platform that enables me to become a better driver. With less power, I dare say that I'll be a lot quicker, just because this is way more manageable. The Cup needed a differential on track because it was really not that much good without it. You weren't a lot quicker than a well set up standard 172, 182 running about 190 horsepower in A, because in reality you couldn't use it. Whereas in this thing, I'm pretty confident we can use it all. So yeah, stay tuned for the next video on this car. I promise that I'll keep them coming a lot sooner, and make sure you subscribe to the channel.